Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is Jae Grind from the BX. Yo, I got a special guest. I mean, man of many talents, amazing guy. Met him one time and we vibed. It was amazing. We got my man Mike. Mike, let everybody know who you are, what you do, where they can follow you, and everything like that.
Gotcha. So yeah, I go by the real Mike Wilson. I like to say just a vegan musician storyteller. It kind of covers most of things. Um, and yeah, I've been a musician for since like 12 years old, and I'm much older than that now. So I would say about 20 something years now, actually. And yeah, I've written some stuff, some stories, some books, things of the sort. But right now, I'm not on social media. I'm just kind of taking a break from it. Besides, like YouTube for the most part, YouTube, Substack. But if anybody listening wants to find out anything more about me, you can literally Google the real Mike Wilson. I'm on Bandcamp, and I am also on YouTube with some music videos. And my website, the real Mike Wilson. If you look me up, you'll find my website as well.
Awesome. Yo, check out Real Mike Wilson. Dope beats. I'm actually getting some myself.
Yeah.
Yo, so Mike, you said something earlier. You said that you've been doing music since you were 12.
Yeah.
Like, what inspired you
Uh,
to get into music?
Yeah, so my family, my mom's also a very Christian person. She's a minister actually. She would play a bunch of like gospel in the house, and then my brother, he would play like the hip hop and stuff, and of course she didn't like agree with that, based on what rap was doing in the '90s. Of course, Jay Z, Biggie, all the mafioso rap pretty much. So that's what you heard on the radio, and I heard it, and it's definitely influenced my style, but it didn't really perk my ear for whatever reason. I definitely have gone back, and I know the shit's dope, but at the time, it was very much so like I'm not really feeling this. But I remember a classmate, I think his name was Courtney. He started rapping the lyrics to "The Way I Am" by Eminem, and it was just
Right.
like the flow and cadence of it that really caught my attention. It was like the mean earworm. It never happened before. I sit back with this pack of zigzags and this bag of this, and I didn't really know what any of that stuff meant because I was mad young. But again, just that flow and the cadence of it, it really made me do a deep dive into Eminem, and I ended up connecting with him. Just kind of the way he expressed his anger through his music, and being a kid from Bedside, there was definitely some anger to unpack that I was completely unaware of at the time. But in retrospect, he kind of gave me he taught me that I could use a canvas to express the anger I felt. And it was again the flow and cadence of like Eminem's work that really stuck with me and really made me start to feel like that's the crazy thing to me. I feel like children, when you're a kid, you hear or see something, and a kid's mind is so amazing because then you're just like, okay, I'm going to go do that, right? Like Eminem has been rapping for however long by that time period. He's like a uh, you know, millionaire for sure, but definitely selling millions and millions of records. And my 12-year-old ass is like, I can do that, and that's kind of like how it started for me. So then from there, I was doing summer youth, I think the following summer, and I had a slightly older friend who put me onto FL Studios, Fruity Loops at the time, Fruity Loops 3 to be exact. Um, and he gave me a cracked version. And so from there, I started producing because, again, I'm like, well, if I can rap, I can produce. And so, yeah, pretty much just a few months out, up to at least a year, I went from rapping to producing, and then I just started doing both things.
So it was something that stood out to me. You said, Eminem was more of like the biggest person that kind of influenced you
Yeah.
as an artist. What do you take as Eminem being Caucasian into what he brought to hip hop?
Yeah, I mean, that's also a great question. I think one thing I really appreciate, and I'm going to speak about like the legends perspective and then kind of go down to mine because the perspective of the legends has actually really informed my perspective, I think. Um, Him being mentored by someone like Dr. Dre coming from NWA and such like not only such a pivotal moment in hip hop history, but also everything Dre did with people like Tupac, Snoop Dogg. So Dre being someone who has really pushed like a certain sound of hip hop for a good period of time to then go and mentor this white boy from Detroit, I think is kind of like telling in itself. Now we're in 2026 and you have legends of all sort who have pretty much come to the consensus that Eminem is definitely one of the greatest. Every individual is going to argue about like who's the best rapper, and I have my own opinions on that. That doesn't necessarily make Eminem number one, but realizing how important the influences on Eminem was, I think, also allows us to appreciate Eminem. And kind of going from there, Eminem has, at least from what I've understood, especially being the person who's very proud of my blackness and want to push forward for the freedoms of black people, the liberation of all Americans really, but definitely all people really, but definitely black people. Eminem has done a great job at not trying to pretend like he's black, one, and then also not disrespecting the culture. Like, he looks up to so many black artists, and again, he totally understands what Dr. Dre has done for him and what black culture has done for him. But we also hear that in his music, Eminem Show and things of the sort, where he does do things to actually attack white America, kind of white supremacy head on. Not that he's like particularly perfect or anything like that, but I think when it comes to his awareness of his whiteness and how he portrays that through his music, I've always really appreciated him being like, I know that if I were a black dude doing the same kind of music I'm doing, even the style, that I would not be doing as well. I mean, he worked with groups like D12 and things, and, again, those guys did not, do as well. But him being this kind of like oddball in hip hop, but also being really good at hip hop, gave him a leg up. And so I've always appreciated that he's aware, he's self-aware, he loves the culture, he seems to really appreciate and love black people as a whole. And he hasn't done anything I'm aware of to disrespect or talk down on black people or black culture or hip hop. He seems to do the opposite every time he gets a chance. So that's one of the things that's always stuck with me, especially as him being a white artist.
I wanted to ask you this question because you said as an artist you felt like it was important to produce. What got you into that mindset?
Being young and feeling like I was invincible, frankly. Again, I think it's the same energy with beginning to rap. Oh, this person who's, on the radio doing these albums, doing crazy stuff with a great legend like Dr. Dre. Oh, I can do that. And then I hear, I get the tools to produce, and I say, oh, I can do that. I think there's a fearlessness that young people have that, I always hope and wish that people my age and better continue to hold on to. Just that kind of like, a lack of fear of failing upward, right? Because you have to be bad at something to get good at it. And I was really bad at producing, but I didn't care. I just loved doing it. And the process of it made me so happy. Like, I remember coming to class, like, in high school, and I would show some of my homies beats. I had one homie, and bless him, he would champion everything I made. No matter how good or bad it was, he was like, yo, this is fire. And I do legit think he loved it. But then I had other classmates who were like, this is whack. You should stop doing this. And I'm like, I like it. I'm going to keep doing it, And I think having that kind of attitude, and I was really encouraged by like my mom, especially, to just like, just do things, try a bunch of things. My mother had me in a bunch of things. So I think I already had the kind of like background that made me feel like I'm just going to do it. It doesn't really matter if it's good, if it's bad. But I got lucky, through putting in time, that I actually did end up getting really good at it, because I was making, you're a kid in school and stuff, so you go home and get on the computer, start making beats. I was making like 3 beats a day, so I was definitely putting in the time. And listening to all the music I could and all that stuff. Recording on $5 microphones from Fat Albert, like, just like really putting in the time. I think just that energy of just, I'm just going to do it, see what happens.
I wanted to ask you because I want to ask you, what does hip hop mean to you, and why do you believe that you are important in the hip hop community?
I think hip hop has always been like just a vehicle for me to express my emotions, to tell stories. Like in 5th grade, for example, I had like an English class, and I remember my teacher, Miss Barber, she had a problem with me because I would, in the journals that we kept, I would always just draw something. And she would tell me that, because I grew up as an illustrator originally, but she would always tell me, you can draw the thing, but then tell me the story of the thing you're drawing. And I feel like that was like a great baseline for me, especially as a rapper, because I see myself as a storyteller first. And I think hip hop is great because it's a way to get people to listen where they otherwise might not listen, right? Like, I know many people who won't pick up a book, and that's for different reasons. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad about that. There's a very long time where I wasn't reading many books. But, that might be a difficult thing to do, get people to read books, get people to read an essay, get people to kind of like really even have certain kind of conversations. But then you put the same concept in a song, like think of Tupac, Changes, you do that, and now everyone's like, yeah, we do need liberation. Yeah, we do need to talk about this. When you are able to put it to a beat that's catchy or just does something emotionally for someone, because I believe even the beats, the music itself tells a story, right? When you're able to do that and then add the words and the message you're trying to portray on top of that, I think you're able to reach more people in a better way. And it's easier to consume, but I don't think it making it easier to consume makes it like candy, makes it potato chips or whatever. I think as storytellers, it's our job to make sure that we package things in a way in which our listeners, our readers, our whatever discipline we're using feel comfortable. And I think hip hop has just, again, always been that vehicle for me. I think it's a very easy vehicle. Well, again, I put in the time and I really love it. I don't think everybody can necessarily do everything, but because I put in the time, because I really do love it, it's become such an easy vehicle for me to do that particular process. And I know you're an MC as well, and I imagine you probably feel similarly, right? Like just the ability to be able to express an idea. I pick up my phone, I hear a beat or whatever, 5 minutes later I got 16 bars, right? And I'm like, boom. But if I want to like write out, I don't know how, even journaling, for example, it might take me a minute to really be like, oh, what do I really want to say? And like really kind of do too much with it. So yeah, that's a very long-winded way of saying that I think hip hop is a great vehicle for storytelling.
No, no. I like that. I have another question. Something that you said you put in the time. How important is your craft as an MC, as a storyteller? How is it important, and why is it important?
Yeah, I think at some point an individual decides how much of whatever they really want to do, right? Hip hop isn't a hobby for me, but for a long time it was a hobby until I realized one day that like, oh, I'm really good at this hobby, and this might be a bit of a contrarian position, which is fine. But I'm just like really thinking about it. I almost feel like if you really love something, you should just do it because you love it. And if you happen to get good, that you can do something, like if you want to commercialize it, monetize it, whatever. Once you realize that you have a certain skill in it, then yeah, sure, do that. I don't personally think you should go into something with the idea of my goal is to sell or make this thing. I think it should be like, oh, I have this interest in this thing. I've developed some skill in this thing. Now, and again, you don't have to be an expert in it or whatever. Like I don't know music theory like that, right? Like I can't read sheet music per se, but I can make a damn good beat. I just collaborate with a French artist, just doing some stuff or whatever. My point being is that like I got good at it, so I was like, oh, I like doing this and I'm good at it, Because I feel like there's plenty of things we can enjoy doing and not necessarily be good at, and that's also okay. That's why I don't think it should be a focus on like the craft for the sake of making money as much as the craft for the sake of the craft, and then from there deciding if you would like to make money from it. I think that's just a calmer, nicer way to live, and that's just the way I kind of approach things. Like I'm playing Marvel Rivals, I'm not great at it, but I enjoy playing it. I don't need to like start a YouTube channel and start streaming and be like and argue with people on headsets. No, I wanna throw things at other people. I'm gonna get hit a few times, whatever, call it a day, But if I happen to put in a year or two and I happen to be a little bit better at it, then I might be like, you know what, maybe I want to bring this up a little bit. And that's just my particular approach to kind of how to do things.
Wow, that's interesting because you say you're from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and tell me your experience living there. From a child to an adulthood, that cultivated you.
So Bed-Stuy was like birth to like 12. Bushwick was like 13 to like 20 something. So I always had like Bed-Stuy, Bushwick, because it kind of encaps like my youth entirely. But the Bed-Stuy portion of it, yeah, we were in the hood, dog. We were going to sleep to gunshots. You know how we do in New York.
Yeah.
Mom's like, get away from the window. And, you know, unfortunately, that becomes normalized. It's not until you get older and kind of look back at it and it's like, wow, that was actually not normal. But, you know, at the time, it's scary for the most part, but it's like, it is what it is, kind of scary. You know, you just get past it. But there were like parks, like I remember 44 and all this other stuff that were like infamous for like gang activity. You know, my mother was definitely one of those moms who's like, you gotta be in the house by a certain time. She didn't want to on the street. We were very close to, yeah, a lot of gang activity. Again, if you're in the five boroughs growing up in the 80s, 90s, that was just the reality for the most part. But one thing, and I just credit my mom to this the other day, I was telling her, one thing she did really amazingly, which I'll never like underappreciate for a moment in my life, is that she kept us busy. We were always in some after school program, some summer youth thing. Like I was a PAL kid. I don't know if you know Police Athletic League, but
Yeah, I know what you. Yeah.
yeah, I was a PAL kid. I was doing summer youth stuff. PAL had me doing like chess and all this other stuff, and I was one of the older kids, so I was kind of like a mentee. And then yeah, just throughout like the years, my mom just had me involved. Like I would go to summer camps. I went to Tommy Hilfiger camp once. All these different things. My mother just kept us involved, and not to mention she had us in church as well. And at the time, I was this Christian rapper. Like I did a gospel music fest once with my mentor from the church I grew up in. So I was just involved with stuff. I was a co-director for the church while acting in it. So yeah, I was doing a lot of things. So even though, and that was just on Broadway Junction too, so it was still like right in the hood. But even though
Wow.
we had all these things around us, my mom, as busy as she was, because she was at one point starting to get her own like degrees and stuff, she just kept us involved with a bunch of things. And I do think, you know, especially for kids who grow up in those type of environments, I didn't have an interest in really kind of running around and doing stuff. I'm still kind of like that today. Like I'm not necessarily a homebody per se, but like if I'm doing arts, I'm with you. I'm going to do whatever. But if you kind of just want to chill, I'm not really a chill guy. I want to do something, right? And again, I think that's, as much as I say I never really was that kid. I think my mom helped me to not really be that kid. So I always kind of want to be involved in some way in something. And yeah, I mean, I think that was the big thing. You know, the reality of what we understand as the hood was definitely around us, but you know, my mom kept us in the house or doing something. So shout out to mom for that.
Yo, shout out to mom. So I wanted to ask you because, again, you done seen a lot, and I just wanted to know, like, from that, and then you were saying like you did collaborations with church with a church rapper, and then how did you get from the church scene to where you are now, like as an artist on your own, creating your own lane?
Yeah.
What was the shift?
Hmm?
What was the shift?
Oh, gotcha. I am personally not a man of faith anymore, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I do come from a generally spiritual family, and I honor some like concepts and spiritual stuff in that way. But that shift kind of happened for me around college, actually. I had some questions and some ideas about some things, and on that particular path and that particular journey, what happened was he was kind of like an op in high school, which was definitely not a word we used, but that's what the kids
Yeah,
were
yeah, we
saying.
don't. Yeah, yeah.
But it was like really funny though, because he did nothing wrong. It was just one of those things where you just don't like somebody for whatever reason. Again, I was young, and I remember one day we hung out too. We were friends of friends type of thing. It was definitely jealousy on numerous levels, and me and him have had that combo. I was just jealous of the man, but
Yeah.
he hit me up one day after he graduated, and he was like, "Yo, you were the best rapper. You were the other best rapper. I feel like I was the other best rapper in our school, and it was mad rappers. We went to art schools, mad rappers."
Well,
And he was like, "We should start a group." And from then, we just started like vibing. We would like literally be on the phone, freestyling each other, just challenging each other to do stuff, and again putting in that time. And again, we're not doing this because we want to necessarily get better. We're doing it because it's fun. Kind of go back to that point earlier, and it got to a point where we'd be at some club or party, and all these different things going on. We freestyling each other. We hearing each other's bars. We just going off. We're young, so we're trying to get shows, but we're not 21 yet. We run into a few mentors throughout the city who are doing some big things. They put us on some platforms. They kind of play us a few times. We definitely lost some money. It was an experience, but it was kind of like that process. Oh, shout out to that dude too, because he's still one of my best friends. Freedom Scott. We just tried to do a bunch of things. We were doing he was mostly doing the 14th Street Union Square Cypher. He was always popping up to that when it was popping like early, like 2010, 2012-ish. And yeah, again, just starting to do shows. I had started working with like random bands. I knew some new wave punk bands, and they liked my rap style. I worked with them over the years. They also helped me do a bunch of live shows. And then we were hitting places like Bowery Poetry Club. That was one of our first like big shows, and that was fire. But yeah, so just kind of like, we had no plan, we had no management. We didn't really even want to get signed. Like, we wanted to be, essentially we wanted to be like a black star, even though that's not something we really knew or really said back then. But we wanted to be like this kind of like liberatory, kind of like backpack rapping group that was like not really industry people, but kind of like adjacent to the industry. So we were always kind of looking for ways to achieve that. We did not, which is fine, because again, there was a lot of learning to do, and I'm glad those songs are not on the internet. But yeah, we were doing a bunch, and yeah, just kind of from through the years all the way up to this point, like I started collaborating with other people. We had an event that we created for the nerd community where we combined rap and then like anime and playing games into like one showcase. So you can come see us rap. You can go literally in the venue and play Street Fighter 4 with someone else. We had tournaments. We did a bunch of things like that. And again, kind of jumping in time. Now I've been performing with some live bands. I've been performing with my homie Justine Lurie. She's dope. Really, really, really talented bassist. And a musician overall, but definitely bassist. That's usually what they play with me. Yeah, this summer just going to be, I mean, honestly, I've been laying low a little bit, but I am working on a new album. I'm working on a collaborative album with a homie, and hopefully I'll be having some production on some other really dope MCs projects if they find that the production makes sense for them. And yeah, just working with different people and just doing a bunch of things. So that's a truncated version of the last 25 years, I guess.
Wow. So like, let the audience know. Let me know, like, what do you rap about? What do you talk about in like any projects that stood out to you that you made that affected people, and what way?
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad.
I think the first project, I had started managing a friend that I was working with, and I kind of took a break from rap because I felt, I don't even know the words. I was just kind of done with it. I wasn't done with the appreciation of rap. I was just kind of done with trying to be a rapper, I guess. That's probably the best way to put it. So I started managing a friend, and he really kind of influenced me to kind of like get back into it. So I did a project called Phoenix, naturally. And that was the project that I actually kind of had during the time we were collaborating on those nerd shows. And so like I had a song called Red Matter, and Red Matter would come on. Red Matter was a Donna Hathaway sample with like these boom bap drums. And the bars were just, my flow Red Matter. I can't remember. I was gonna do it for you, but I really can't remember. But anyway, so it would start with like my flow Red Matter, but as soon as people heard it, like they would just kind of go crazy and start going with me or whatever. It was just one of those songs like your best single type of shit. So that was like one of the songs that like really kind of people connected with. But it was really just kind of like a hip hoppy ass song. Like I was just talking shit, which I still do. Um, but the transition to more, because I was doing storytelling, I was finding my space and like talking shit and kind of like more like I like to say rappy rap stuff. That kind of came after I did my next project, TRMW, which was like the self-titled project, with a little chibi version of myself, a little anime tiny version of myself. Um, in that project, I had songs like Heads High, which my mom calls the anti-bullying song. I never thought about it that way, but the chorus is very like, no matter what you're going through, keep your head high type shit. Um, and that was, again, like another song that people really, really connected with. So I found throughout time that like I would make these kind of like anthems, so to speak. Like I had a song called Black Jesus, and that was referencing actually. I would go to Harlem, and you know how Harlem, there's always those brothers in the ninja suits
Yeah.
about Obama being the Antichrist. So, but they will always have an image of like a Black Jesus, and so the lyrics were saying it was definitely very Black excellence where it's like you can do better, you can be more in life type shit, and the image of like the Black Jesus as kind of like a referential kind of thing. So we from Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, Queensbridge, BX, Southside, Harlem with the Black Jesus. We're from all these places, and yet we can still see ourselves as something more, essentially. I remember I had one homie, Ra. He was mad that he's from Far Rock. He was mad that I didn't have Far Rock in the chorus. So every time I would perform it live, he would shout out wherever he could fit Far Rock, like into the chorus, just to kind of go along with it. And yeah, now, so the project, the album, like I really put out the last few years, 2023. My boy Super Galloway says it's like it's his favorite album. Is called To My Ex, and To My Ex came from breaking up with somebody and breaking up with people, like really just leaving some environments that a lot of weird shit happened in, and that ended up becoming storytelling, but also venting. So it's really kind of like I have a song called Secrets, and the chorus is like, well, will you keep my secrets, you know? And then I'm like saying, well, I keep your secrets later on in the song. And then it kind of became that. So now I'm kind of going back to rappy rap. I'm working on an Untitled project where I'm also super political, by the way. But I'm working on a new project where I'm allowing like my political kind of leftist, very socialist beliefs. They're still there, but I'm pulling from like an MF Doom, where I'm allowing myself to have fun with the flow, have fun with the choice of words, have fun with the storytelling, but also with a little bit of a message. So, this one is definitely on purpose trying to be more like Candy, like I was saying earlier. I'm not necessarily doing that, but this particular project is definitely more like, I just kind of want to rap, but if you're listening, you definitely really hear some deeper topics. There's like one or two songs that definitely go much deeper. So yeah, political shit is kind of where I'm at now, but rappity rap more so because I want to keep it easier to digest. I don't want to be too teachy.
I'm gonna ask you because I like that. I like what you were saying. So like, what's your process of making like
Oh, say that again?
what's your process of making the album? Like, how do you choose your songs and place them and things like that? And how do you get these ideas? What, like, you know what I mean? For example, like you said, the little you, what, and then like what, how do you place, all right, this is the first song I want the audience to hear, and then this is the middle, and then this is the end. Like, how do you what's your process in that?
Oh, yeah. So as I'm kind of like I'm pulling up the what's the word, the playlist I'm creating. So I have a song concept that also, I mean, I don't know if you've ever done this. I'm looking at some, what's the word I want to use, some not just royalty free, but specifically no longer like in public domain things, and I'm looking at some speeches that stand out to me. So if you're ever looking for something interesting, you should totally do it because there's some interesting stuff out there. But I found this one, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be an album, but I'm just going to share it anyway. I'm not sure if it ends up. But I found this one where it is a person from 1914 reciting these lines from Shakespeare, Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. And what I loved about it, because I'm not very familiar with Shakespeare, but there's this monologue where this guy is talking about how Brutus is this honorable man, and Caesar died because he was ambitious, and Caesar was an honorable man. It's like he's playing on the words about like what an honorable man is, and you can tell he's being a bit snarky, right? You can tell that he's kind of like, and we trust Brutus because Brutus, the guy who backstabbed Caesar, is an honorable man, and that made me think, okay, what story could I tell from that, right? Because now we live in a society where a lot of these honorable men are pedophiles and rapists.
Mm.
And we know that whether it be celebrities or political figures, that they'll look each other in the eye, shake each other's hands, and talk about how great this person is, and they just like, I understand that we appreciate Obama for being the first black president, but he was like bombing people in the Middle East, like, you know what I mean, and, like, just as bad as Trump is, because trust me, I'm not a Trump supporter, do not get confused, but I'm saying that what we think of when we think of these people, or the way they're portrayed, I should say, right? Obama can sing a little bit, he got rhythm and beat because he's black and cool and soulful, but he's also done terrible things, right? And Trump is a terrible person who's doing terrible things and all these other things, but we like to think that, the Democrats or whatever groups, I'm just kind of using this as an example, are slightly better or slightly above. But when they're in these different rooms, they're shaking each other's hands and saying, so how's the family? These honorable men aren't holding each other accountable. So I wanted to think of, like, how do I approach that concept through a song? And, that becomes the process of, like, well, where does it fit in the project thus far, right? And so I'm listening back to it and I'm like, oh, this is a great way to open this project of this speech about what an honorable man is, and really let the listener kind of like have to deal with that fact, navigate the song with me, and then kind of from there, I have a song called No Private Property, which is like a more rappy rap song. So I just, starting the project off with something that makes you go, damn, I never thought about that. To the point where you might not even get to the second song because you got to hear the first song again. And that I'm noticing that that's what's happening for me with this project, is just like figuring out where and how impactful each track is going to be for its purpose, and also not overloading you with too much heaviness. Like, I do have one song that's going to speak to a very specific thing I've navigated recently, and I have that a little bit later in the song, so that you can get a little bit of the rappy rap, you can get comfortable in it, it's not too heavy, and then I can hit you with the boom, this shit, and then ease you back out. I've noticed that I kind of do a little bit of that, like a bit of a slope up and slope down.
That's interesting. I really like that. And like, what was your obstacle? What was your obstacle in the music industry, in the rapping business? What were things that made you say, like, were there any times where you felt like I shouldn't do this, or I'm gonna try to like switch up so I can be accepted? Like, what was your journey in this making to make you who you are today? That, because from what you sound like, from what you're telling me, is more of like, this is who I am as an artist, and take it or leave it. But what got, like, tell me the journey, like, what got you there? What made you stay solid in what you're doing?
Yeah, I think I'm a very stubborn person, which makes sense because I have very stubborn parents. I come from very stubborn stock. So having come up in like the New York rap scene, I've known a lot of different rappers, and some of them have like quit. They stopped rapping. And some people say age and family and all that other stuff. Nas dropped how many projects the last few years? AZ just dropped another one a few days ago. T.I.'s putting out a project. Paul Wall just dropped a song. Like, age isn't really an excuse. Don't get me wrong, Andre 3000 has his opinion on that, which honestly, if he ended up, because he made a joke about like, well, I'm supposed to rap about getting a colonoscopy. If Dre rapped about a colonoscopy, it would be the fiest, like the dopest verse about a colonoscopy. We just know it.
Right.
But I respect what his journey is. But I think there is definitely part stubbornness. There was definitely times where my homie and I, that I was working with like in my early 20s, there was a lot of conversations about how do we become more appeasing to what people kind of want to hear and kind of want to do. And I don't know. I just feel like for me, I want to make the music I want to hear. You know, that's even how like as a producer, like one goal of mine is like do a soundtrack for films, soundtrack for games. You know, and that sounds really different from the stuff you know that people have heard from me. And it's just because if I like it, I want to do it, right? If it's interesting and it talks to me in some way, that's what I want to do. Um, so my music has always been that. It's the music for me. I was just telling a friend earlier today. I actually had somebody recording. Um, I had an old college friend who she was like a little white girl. She was like, "You should do more like a Lil Wayne thing. Lil Wayne's voice is so interesting. The way he does blah blah blah. You should sound more like Lil Wayne." And I was like, "No." Um,
Mm.
and my thing is, if that's what you want to hear, just go hear it, right? Like Lil Wayne exists. I don't need to be Lil Wayne. And I feel like that's something the legends complain about now anyway, because the legends, and not even necessarily legends, but like are there artists who like are 40 plus from the industry? They're pretty much like everybody in their 20s or whatever sounds like the same person, and that's been happening obviously for a minute now. But it's such a good point, right? Like you know, I can think of a few people. Like, I mean, I just mentioned Paul Wall. Paul Wall sounds nothing like a Kanye. You know,
Right.
they've collaborated on some songs, but they don't. You don't hear Paul Wall and go, "He's doing Kanye." Like that just doesn't happen. You don't even hear Kid Cudi and say he's doing Kanye. They were like mad close. Um, but I think you know, recognizing where I sit, like what my style is, and how my style changes. Like I have artists I really enjoyed, and their style changed, and I didn't enjoy them as much, and that's okay. Like I could be mad about it personally, whatever. But honestly, if it makes them happy, they're going to develop a fan base that's going to follow them for the sound they're doing. I got no problem with that. And I also just like recognize that in myself. And I've definitely have had, ironically, fans who are like kind of like, can you do this or can you do that? Like there was a time where I was doing covers of like anime theme songs and openings, and it was definitely fan service for sure, but not something like I was really into. And so I stopped. You know, I actually had somebody very meanly call me out for it, and I'm like, y'all niggas told me to do this. Why you mad at me? but but yeah, like for the most part, just like I just want to do the stuff I want to do, and you know, if you rock with it, great. If you don't, also great. Have a wonderful day. You know, no big deal.
Wow. So like, has anyone ever told you like, oh, this was good or this was bad, or like, even I'm talking about right now at the pinnacle of your art. Has anyone ever said like, oh, this is not it, and things like that to you? And like, or like, what was your response to the good, and what was your response to the bad?
Yeah. So something that happens sometimes. I'm trying to remember the last time this happened. It might have been sometime last year. Sometimes people will respond like they really don't like my beat. They think I'm fine, but I need another producer. And I'm like, cool, go listen to a producer you like. And as far as like people really enjoy my stuff, again, like I do different genres sometimes. So I put out, a homie and I went to a museum. We saw this really interesting exhibit. And I had also another homie talk to me about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Um, and these experiences kind of culminated into me being like, I want to make a house song, and I never make house music. And my friend's a DJ, and he gave me some notes. I was like, hey, what's a house song? Like, what's the things that make it house? So he told me, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go make a house song now. And yeah, I just pulled from those different sources. You know, like I said, the movie, the experience at the theater. I ended up using a quote from the movie for the song and all these other things, kind of put it together. And you know, my friend even gave me like feedback, whatever. It's like um, there were some things that didn't make it particularly like what house is, and I appreciate that feedback. And I was like, all right, cool. But then I had another friend who, you know, she absolutely loved it. You know, she was like, oh my god, I can't believe you came up with this. I even wrote like an article about like the experience of getting these ideas and making it into one song on Substack. And she was so impressed, and she was just like, I can't believe you even did this. I'm like, how you pulled from here, how you pulled from there. So I mean, if you know how they say like, what would you tell the kids if there were like kids listening to this? I'd be like, you know, what one person loves another person hates, what one person
Right.
hates another person loves. You know, we can't take like the very specific experience as like the whole thing, right? It's just like life. You have a bad day, it doesn't mean you have a bad life. Um, and you have a good day doesn't mean that your life is going to be easy all the time, right? So that's kind of the way I treat critique. Mostly if it's like, again, this kind of like that. I like it, I don't like it. If I'm getting something valuable, like, I remember for a long time, really, this is really to the question. I remember for a very long time, people would be like, yo, there's something with your mix. Like, you need to compress your tracks. You need to compress your tracks. You need to compress your tracks. No one was telling me what compression was. No one was explaining to me how compressors work. All I know is I have my program, I record my voice, I threw on the reverb and called it a day. Now, what's really funny is when I finally learned what a compressor was, I realized that the problem wasn't compression. The problem was I was shit at EQing. So when I really learned how to EQ, that's when I was able to like really start making quality music. So you know that was that was critique that made it didn't make sense because it was the wrong critique. But I'm trying to say that it was a critique that I was willing to listen to had it been critique that would have got me to the next step. And unfortunately, it kind of held me back again in those earlier years because, you know, I'm just hearing this phrase I don't know about, you know, I don't even really know how to use a compressor, no one's telling me anything. But again, as soon as I knock out the low end of my voice, the song sounds perfect. That's pretty much what I have to do almost any time I record and the song is perfect. I know that, I do it in 5 seconds, the song's good to go. But yeah.
That's cool. So like, what is your favorite song that you like listening to if you ever listen to yourself, and why?
Edge is probably it's not my most political song, but it's one of my most political songs. The idea is like the edge end of a knife. And actually, AZ's verse from, let's call it, Life's a Beat. I've always loved that flow. And when I made the beat, I remember thinking, oh, this sounds like that song. So I actually ended up, you know, through the technology of music production, removing the vocals and putting it to the song. And before I even really wrote my lyrics, I would just listen to AZ rapping over that beat. And then I actually ended up kind of borrowing that flow. So it's like a Billy for a billionaire. He got it from your labor. Paper claim that he's a genius. Heard he owned the local paper. And it just kind of talks about these things about really the current political climate. It's a few years old now, but the bars are still too relevant. And it's talking about the Trump presidency. It's talking about what billionaires are doing to our country. It's talking about the slaughter of people of the Palestinian region or background. It's just capturing all those things. Then the second verse is also capturing like how we become slave wages and slaves to our wages or to our jobs. And how we have so little freedoms to like enjoy our lives, and like once one thing goes bad, you know, you're screwed. And then I have like this kind of bridge thing touching on the experience of the youth having to learn how to protect themselves from school shooters. Like we live in a country now where instead of doing something about guns, we tell kids they need to know how to hide under a table. Like we're doing school shooting drills. And I'm not saying it's not useful, I'm just saying there's so many other solutions that parents and teachers have been pushing for, but our country is not actually doing anything about it. And also, you know, the loss of rights for women and trans women, and trans people in general. So it captures all those things. So I'm really proud of it. It was definitely one of those songs that, like, when I did start the writing process, it just all came out of me. And it, you know, a lot of people can relate to it. Anytime I get the chance, I tend to perform it with just upright bass, not even like the full track. And I love the beat, but I just really want people to hear it. And yeah, so that's definitely currently probably my favorite song, Edge.
I like that. So I wanted to ask you, like, how important is it to be versatile as an artist?
Um, I think my personal opinion on it is I don't know if it's super important. So, well, I say that, but I'm definitely like a jack of all trades, master of none, still better than master of one type of person. Um, so maybe I'm lying. Maybe I haven't given it much thought. Let me think. So now that I think about it, throughout like my career, like I did graphic design. I write. Um, you know, I did photography. I shot videos for people. That's how I was making some money for a bit. I had like a t-shirt company forever ago. Um, I think I was versatile because of what I was saying earlier. I didn't really see it necessarily as a need as much as something that I was just interested in doing, right? And I feel like artists, I know you're a fellow MC, but like I'm sure you do other things, right? And you do other things because you like it. And again, if you decide to do something big with it, that's on you. But you generally started doing it because you're like, this is cool, this is fun. And so that was with me with graphic design. That was me with photography, videography, all those things. And even speaking more to like versatility and style of like rap, I think that comes from having versatile interests. Obviously I'm mentioning like the nerd thing a bunch, huge influence. Marvel, DC, comic books in general. I still buy indie comic books from random people that like I might go to
Wow.
an event. Yeah, I just picked up a few weeks ago actually, from some black artists actually, which was really fire. Um, so yeah, all those things, whatever you're into. I mean, I tell the students I work with all the time. It's like, um, you are already an interesting person essentially, right? You have all these things you already care about. How do you take those things you already care about and put it into whatever art you're making, whatever thing you're doing? Because all the things that you are into are already have an influence on you. And how do you use that influence to make something that you want to make or navigate the world the way you want to navigate the world?
Yo, that leads me to this question because I like when you was talking, it stood out to me. It was just like you were saying about the versatility, and then it's just like what, like why, like what makes you want to collab with someone, and do you believe that collaboration is important in our culture in the hip hop industry? Why or why not?
Yeah, I used to have a problem with collaboration, and again, this definitely stems from stubbornness. I thought for a long time I could just do things by myself. And what's funny now is that I'm less concerned with collaborating as much as I'm concerned with community. Um, and community is like a very cool buzzword now, but community to me means, I mean, well, honestly, and from a very religious perspective, communion, right? Like, if I'm only doing work with you, am I really in community with you? You know what I mean? If our relationship is 100% transactional, am I in community with you? Um, that's not to say that those things can't happen in community, but community is to commune, right? If we're going to play around some words a little bit, right? I need to eat with you. I need to be nourished with you, and and spend time with you. Um, so, for me, collaboration comes from community. So the people I work with, frankly, I fuck with, right? I'm like, I like you. I want to work with you, and that's always kind of been my thing before I realized how stubborn I was about collaboration in general, like the umbrella term. It was much like, oh, you're cool. I want to work with you. And in that, I've worked with people whose skill levels have varied. I worked with people who are much more talented than me in different ways. I worked with people I had to teach, in different ways. And, that still happens. Like, I have some friends who, are definitely way better than me in certain aspects of things. And some people who see me and they're like, hey, how do I? And it actually, for me, makes the collaboration better because, then I'm able to kind of look at this person and go, man, I really admire. I think the admiration is a huge part of it too, right? My friend Super Galloway, we're both dope MCs, but the way he writes, I will give him a beat right now. I could email him a beat while we're talking. Before this conversation is over, he is sending me a video of him rapping like 16 bars. Just he just does it like that. You know what I mean? While me, I'm over here with a beat I made 3 months ago, and I'm like, what am I going to say? you know. So I really admire that about him or whatever. And yeah, I could say that about like a lot of the people I work with. Like, there's some aspect of it where it's like, man, that's just really cool. But that also again comes from a place where I really just like that person. Like, we were kicking it the other day, me and Super Galloway, and we were just hanging out. We did talk about the project, but we also just kicked it. And I think for me, collaboration wise, that's important. Like, I want you to be somebody that, like, it doesn't mean that you have to be a super present person in my life, but I do feel like some sort of communing aspect of who we are, like, the fact that we're having this conversation, honestly, just to kind of touch on that, is like because we played games together at a game night in the building. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we communed together before one of us was like, "Yo, we should do something." Like, you know.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, that's just how I personally, look at collaboration.
I want to ask you, like, was it hard for you to collaborate with people and as an MC? What are the struggling parts in collaborating with people?
I think sometimes people don't meet your expectation. I think sometimes, um, yeah, I would say the expectation thing is probably the thing I've come across the most. I've definitely worked with people where, for lack of being mean, they just didn't meet like your, your standard. Whether it be, working with a videographer and you get the video back and the video's kind of trash and you're like, ugh, I could edit this better. And that might be the same thing with like having somebody do a verse on your song. It's like, you didn't really hit the mark on this. Something that's helped me through that, not to like be hyper positive, but just kind of like really reflecting on how I navigate that. It's just kind of realizing that sometimes people are where they are, and I've gotten better at being able to just accept where people are creatively. Like everyone's not going to have 25 years behind them in rap, right? I'm like, that's fine. So if I want to work with a person, really paying attention, and this part I guess is really crucial, really paying attention to like where they are on their creative journey and whether or not, the collaboration makes sense to you. I absolutely do not mind working with people who aren't necessarily the best at every single thing they're into. But I have become more mindful of realizing where they are and being like, okay, at least I know they're here, and this is what I can or should expect. And I don't think that's a particularly negative thing. I think again, people are where they are. I used to struggle with that like really hard. Like, why is this so bad? And now I'm very much so like, all right, like this. If anything, the thing I'm doing with them gives them more. It gives them more time and opportunity to get better at it if I want to do that thing with them. So that's been honestly pretty helpful as far as perspective of it.
Let me ask you something. I'm glad I'm glad that we're having this conversation. It shows me a lot about you, and it's just like, if you were to pass away,
Mm.
what have you left behind you? What do you want people to know your music for?
Um, I think my thing is I don't necessarily think about or really care much about how which is I guess kind of weird because I put so much effort into it. I don't think I think too much about how my art has influenced anyone. I know it has because people have told me specifically, which I really appreciate, and it's always been like a very special moment for me. I think what I end up being more concerned about is the type of impact I care for is just that people know that they were cared for. I think the people in my life, I want them to know that that they're loved, they're cared for, and I think that's something I try to talk about in my music. That's like, you are important, you are somebody, no matter what the systems tell you, no matter what white supremacy tells you, no matter what whatever tells you, you're important, you're worth it. Something that's weird for me with regards to the kind of music I've been making over the years is that I tend to develop a fan base of like these dudes who are I don't want to be mean in my phrasing. I was gonna say like incel adjacent, which honestly has been like the case. I've talked to some people who have like had some interesting perspective on race. They weren't necessarily racist, but they were racist adjacent. But they were like big fans of mine, and it definitely became one of those things where like, oh, you're one of the good ones kind of energy. And I had the time and I had the patience, and I kind of like unpacked what that conversation really was. And I don't necessarily know. I mean, yeah, I really have no clue why my music has stood out to certain people who have like those kind of beliefs. But now that I think about it, an old friend of mine who, high key, was pretty toxic and definitely problematic, and I'm no longer friends with him for those reasons. He was a huge fan of Lupe Fiasco. And I think what it is that when people find a truth teller, right, they don't necessarily like align themselves with the truth that they're telling. They align themselves with the idea and identity of truth, right? So it's like, oh, he's spitting facts. It's not so much the facts he's spitting, but that he's spitting facts. So you end up being like an Andrew Tate or whatever, because people are more concerned with the fact that you represent, you're against the machine, whoever they think the machine is, right? Because I'm telling you the machine is, American capitalism, but they hear it and they go, oh, you see how woke and intelligent this one black dude is, kind of.
Yeah. Right.
So that's been kind of an interesting thing to navigate. But nonetheless, what I realized as I spoke to those different people, because they were friends at the moment, was that they really just felt unloved. They had relationship issues. They had problems with their parents. They were quite literally like basement dwellers who didn't have work and things of the sort. They were going through a lot, and when you're going through those type of things, you need something to make you feel special. And again, I want people to feel special, but I also feel like that's part of the working class kind of coming together, collaborating against the system, is recognizing that we have more in common than we have different. So whether or not you think I'm like that one intelligent black dude spitting the truth, the other black dude with whatever thing he's navigating is feeling the same exact way as you. And when you realize that he's your ally, not your enemy, then we'll be able to do something. So I think that's what I really want my fans to get out of my music.
That's good. I wanted to ask you too, like, do you what do you look for in an artist, and what do you look for? Like, say if someone comes to buy a beat, and they say, well, I want to rap to this, and you listen to them, what do you look for in their music?
So what I want to say is I want them to be saying something that I feel like aligns with my beliefs. But honestly, because I work with younger people and because I know what my journey is or was, I would just give them the musical canvas to be who they are. Obviously, I don't want to end up with some really, really, really egregious music. Like if I heard it back, I'd be like, look, I got to take this from you because it's too much. But I know that, for example, I work with kids who are in the penal system who, they're awaiting trial, and so we do like a music group, and they have history in the streets, and they've done things, and they know people who've done things, and they talk about it in their music, and it can be really, really kind of heavy and kind of dark. And if I were to give them any beats, I would just kind of give them that space to just use it the way they want. Again, if it's definitely a student or someone I can talk to directly, I would definitely be like, tell me what's happening here in this song, what inspired it. I would try to have a convo. Not to even get them out of it, but just to kind of get them to think about, what they're doing, right? Because I think even part of creativity can feel very natural. It can just flow out of you. And then sometimes you look back and you're like, oh man, that's what I was saying? So yeah, I would definitely try to have like a convo. But I think for the most part, I'm very much so, you heard the beat, you were inspired, and something's coming to you, just do it, whatever. Again, as long as you're not coming on some slavery was a choice type shit.
Yo, that's crazy.
Like you come back to me with some modern day yay, then it's a problem. But
yeah,
for the most part, if you're just, and again, that's again the thing too. Me being older, it's really easy to be like, these kids these days are talking about. It's like, no, I was talking about the same stuff. I might have had a different purview or perspective on it, but I was telling my story, and these kids are going to tell their stories, and I shouldn't police how they tell their story. Again, I can have a conversation, but having a conversation is very different from policing. So,
wow. So let me. Who's your favorite hip hop artist?
I think my favorite hip hop
artist. Give me your top. Give me your top 5.
Top 5 is definitely easier. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Eminem, because I always say he taught me how to rap. And then Andre 3000, because he's just such a good rapper. 16 Ain't Enough with him and Rick Ross, his verse and he's saying so much, but like just the way, like even just his flow alone, like what you call it, International Players Anthem, another one of my favorite songs. And again, it's mostly because of Dre's verse. Like when the beat drops and everyone else does it, I'm still bumping for sure. But that introduction is just too good. And then I'd probably say, I haven't thought about this much lately. I'd probably say I need to continue to really pick apart AZ's discography, but that flow, man, you know, visualizing the realism of life and actuality, like his flows are just so good, and of course he's actually saying something behind the flow. I think I'm gonna throw Nas in there because Illmatic, I still listen to that, like, and Godson is still like one of my favorite records from him. That's four, and I guess to top it off, a little bit of a curveball, but I think I'm gonna say Mac Miller.
Okay.
Yeah, and like sixth position MF Doom. But as far as like lyricism goes, I feel like I was listening to The Faces recently again by Mac Miller, and he just talks about. I mean, obviously he was going through a lot, which makes me really sad when I listen to his stuff because you could hear the desperation and like the need for assistance, but like not getting it. But he had a way, I think, of, again, kind of like Eminem, knowing where he was in hip hop, appreciating hip hop and black culture, not trying to like take it over per se, but also just being really good at rapping. Like I think the list I made is about, for me, people who are really good at like the art of rap. And I think Mac Miller, like he was really good at the art of rap, in my opinion.
Wow, man. So, what's something that, I mean, you say you work with with kids and everything. Like, what's something that you would tell somebody that's up and coming as an artist? Like, what's a quick advice or life advice that you would give them as they are creating their own lane?
Yeah. I think I try to tell people in general that creativity is for everyone. It's a God-given right. It's a universal given right. It's like, don't never let anyone take away your creativity. Like you're essentially who you are as a human being is because you can create. Is how I feel, and I feel like sometimes with some of the students I work with, they struggle to start because it's almost like they don't think they're worthy of creation. You know, it's like, what if it's bad? What if it's this? What if it's that? It's like, well, it's going to be bad because you just started. And if it's not bad, you're lucky, you know? But the fact that it's bad shouldn't stop you from creating. Like, I have some friends who, like, really struggle with getting bad past the being bad at something phase. And as I said earlier, like me, I'm like, I'm bad, so what? I'm having fun. And I think finding the fun in the thing you want to do, not judging yourself too much about how not great it is, allowing it to be bad. In fact, be bad on purpose. There was a time where me and my friends were joking about me being a parody rapper and like actually leaning into kind of like the get money, get bitches kind of like energy. And I made songs around that. Like we never actually put them out, but I was like being silly. I was like, I'm gonna do something bad today. But yeah, just like being comfortable with being not great at something, leaning into it, and recognizing that creativity is your birthright.
Yo, so you are on the Jae Grind podcast.
Jae Grind.
Yo, and have you ever heard any of Jae Grind's music?
Yo, I did. Actually, I checked out a few of your joints, including your interview with my neighbor, actually. But I definitely checked out a couple of songs, and you are definitely one of those artists who speak to like what's going on. First off, well, second off, I guess, you have that particular song that's like, I'm going to say like mental health is the one where you kind of are talking to like your shadow self. And like this is when you're like in the car mechanic joint. And I was like really impressed about like even that kind of like take on it, like really going to those darker places for yourself. I thought that was really cool. And then you have the joint where you're out in the park. And yeah, just like more uplifting. I think Principles is what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Where you like the chorus is literally you doing like an acronym breakdown of like what's what. So like really, yeah, just like really good stuff, inspiring people, letting people know again that they're important as well, and touching on some heavy topics.
Wow.
I studied.
All right.
I studied.
Yo. Yeah. Thanks, man.
No doubt.
But I just want as we conclude to this podcast, let people know where to find you. Let people know your upcoming businesses, ventures, it's out maybe outside of music, new albums in the work, stuff in the work, beats that you're making. Let everybody know where to find you, where to support you, and where to just check out the real Malik, man.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you can literally search me, the real Mike Wilson. I'm on Bandcamp. I have a website. It's like a Wix site, so it's kind of ghetto, but I love it. So yeah, it's the real Mike Wilson. Search me, Bandcamp, website. What else? What else? What else? YouTube. You can see some of my music videos. You can see my music video for Secrets. You can see when I was doing a little bit of streaming and I played Undertale. That was mad fun. And then things coming up. Well, I have two books out. I have one called Faces, which is a collection of short stories, and then I put out a book last year called The Wonderful Life of Mr. Silverlinning. It's two longer short stories. And again, if you just look me up, Michael E. Wilson Jr., you can find that book, Michael E. Wilson Jr., The Wonderful Life of Mr. Silverlining. What else? What else? This summer, I'm probably going to be doing a show with a band. We haven't planned it yet, but definitely, if you end up looking me up anywhere, you'll end up finding it. And yeah, other than that, just out here, dog, just trying to be a good person and shit.
Yo, I messed his name up. The real Mike. I said Malik. I
Oh,
don't know.
Malik, yeah, I peeped that. I was like,
I was like, yo, I caught myself real fast. So look, check him out, y'all. Books coming, tours is coming, music is coming, music beats is coming because I'm actually looking at beats myself.
Yeah, let's get around to some beats.
So guys, check him out. Listen, y'all, we already know. Thank you, Real Mike, for just being on the podcast. It was an honor. Y'all check him out on all platforms. You already know. Yeah.
Appreciate it. I was gonna say it was an honor talking to you. I really appreciate your thoughtful questions, even leading.